guys, so today I'm here with my second part in my Sephora experience little series that I am doing. Basically, if you don't know, I do work at Sephora, and I decided to do this series because a lot of people, when I put up like my gratis hauls and things like that, were really interested in it and were telling me that they wanted a job at Sephora. So I kind of wanted to give you first-hand insight onto what happened with me and my story. And this isn't necessarily advice, this is just kind of like a sit-down chit-chat with you guys, just kind of like talking, I guess, like girls about what happened with Sephora and things like that. And if you wanted to see my first video in the series, which was my interview slash like hiring process, I will link that video down below. But this video is going to be the second part, and this is going to be all about orientation, Nso training, which is new store opening training, and brand training, which all happened in a month. So I'm going to try and condense this as much as possible. My experience is definitely different than everyone else's. Not everybody else's, but the majority of people that get hired onto Sephora, because the majority of people that do get hired at Sephora are hired into stores that are already open. Like I said in the last video, my store actually was a new store, so my store wasn't open yet when I got hired. So my entire cast got basically like casted. We all got employed and hired, and then we had to go through like a month long of training to kind of prepare us for opening a store. So I'm going to kind of talk about the orientation first. Well, first of all, I got hired about mid-April was when I got hired, and I was actually in like the first group that got interviewed and got hired, so I actually had to wait the longest after I got hired to actually start. So I think we started like end of May. Yeah, I believe we started the end of May. I got like an email, and it was basically like telling us the dates and what was going to be happening, what to wear, what to expect, where we were going to be. We actually started our orientation and training at a hotel, like literally across the street from my house, which was awesome. Like I woke up like 10 minutes early and went there. But yeah, so our training and things like that was at a hotel, and we got paid and everything for training, and we actually had free lunches, which were provided by the hotel, which were awesome, by the way. The lunches were fantastic. But anyway, so I think my first day of orientation was May 21st, I believe, because I believe it was like an exact month before our store opened, which was June 21st. So the first 3-ish days were considered orientation. So the first day I went in, I was definitely very nervous. I don't know, I've moved so many times and I've gone to so many different schools that like you would think I'm very like outgoing and very personable and easy to get along with, but like I was still really shy. I'm not that shy anymore, but I was still pretty shy. So the first day I walked in, I got my little cup of orange juice because they provided like breakfast drinks and things like that, and I walked in, and our entire leadership team was there. And leadership is basically like your managers. There is I'm like blanking right now. There's your store director, your store specialist, then there's like the leads. The store specialist and the store director are kind of like high up there. Those are like the big bosses. And then your leads are color lead, skincare lead, and by the way, just so you guys know, color is makeup. It's nothing more than that. It's literally just makeup. So then there's color lead, skincare lead, ops lead, which is operations, which is everything that goes on with the store, updates, things like that. And then I believe we had an education lead as well. And education is kind of in charge of like our daily doses, which I'll talk about a little bit later on, probably in the next video. Our daily doses and like getting in contact with brands so they can come in and train us and things like that. I think education lead has a lot of stuff on their plate too. So I walked in, and I was actually pretty early. So I came in, and immediately everybody, I remember my store specialist like knew my name, and that kind of like took me by surprise because there was a lot of us there. So everybody was like really generous and like gave me a hug and everything, and it just kind of got me excited. So I went and sat down. I actually sat down next to somebody. There was a lot of open seats, but I wanted to sit down next to somebody because I didn't want to look like that person that like sat by themselves. So I went and sat down next to somebody. But the first day of orientation was basically them just kind of like talking about the company, just explaining like the values, the We Care system, the customer service, things like that. That was the entire first day, basically just talking about Sephora. I have the binder here actually that we have So the first day was just kind of all about Sephora, like the science of Sephora, everything about Sephora, things like that. And it took up the entirety of the day. Our schedule while we were doing all the training was 9 to 5, so we were, or 9 to 6 actually. So we were there for 9 hours every day. And then the next day we came back, and I believe this was more so the We Care system. This was more on like our customer service and how we're supposed to treat clients and things like that, and just kind of like what Sephora stands for as a whole, plus our values, because Sephora has like 10 or so values that we try to live up to. And then I believe the third day was preparing us more so for I really don't remember what happened. I just know it was like 3 days, and I remember the third day was just kind of like preparing us for the new store opening training, which is Nso Training, which not a lot of people get because not a lot of people open stores. So after orientation, I mean, orientation was really, it was fun. It was a fun experience. You know, you got to ask questions. It was mostly just like your leadership and your leadership team kind of training you. But then they brought in the new store opening team, which is who was with us for about 2 weeks. So for that training, basically how that worked was they actually brought in a new store opening like team to actually train us, and they went through like the entire process. Like we had this entire binder. Like I still have my binder. I just like sat it somewhere. But they started off with the service piece. They kind of taught us about how we're supposed to treat clients, things like that. And then the next step we did was hair care. And basically for the new store opening, like they literally train you on everything. We got trained on hair care, skincare, color, fragrance. I think that was it. But then we actually did like demos and things like that as well. So after they would train us on something, then we would go do it. So like when we did our skincare training, like asking clients like the probing questions to kind of figure out what they need, we actually had to like demo it as well right after. So as soon as we were finished learning about it, we had to transition and actually do it, which was fun. But I was of course really nervous still because I still didn't like know anybody, and I was just like, yeah, okay. And then when we did like the color piece, we had to do eye looks on people, full faces. Like they brought in so much makeup, and we literally had to do like full faces within like 10 minutes. And it was a little tough. I mean, I remember being definitely nervous. I mean, like now I'm pretty confident when doing makeup on people, but at first I was so nervous because I've only done makeup like on myself. So that was really tough. We did like full face, basic eye, a lip. We did, I think the last thing we actually did for color was we did like 45 minutes full face, like smoky eye, everything. And that took me a lot longer than 45 minutes because the smoky eyes are a little time consuming. But we did that. I know for fragrance, we ended up learning about the top selling fragrances in Sephora. Hair care, we learned about the hair tools because there's not that many hair tools in Sephora. I know my Sephora only sells like Bumble and Bumble, Alterna, Diva Curl, Oscar Blondie, Fido, and Wen. We actually don't have as much hair care as a lot of people. We actually have more Bumble, and Living Proof. We have so much more Bumble and Bumble than we do anything else. But that was kind of it. It was just like 2 weeks of like serious in-depth learning. Like we learned about like the basics of the skin. Like it was basically like science. We learned about color. We learned like the color wheel. It was a lot more fun than it was anything. And a lot of times if you answered a question correct, you got to pick a little piece of like gratis, but it wasn't gratis at the time. It was more so just like something to take home. But that was really fun, and that was just 2 weeks of that. And then afterwards we had 2 weeks of brand training, which is typically, brand training is when a brand comes into the store and trains you for about 10 to 15 minutes. But this brand training was a little bit different. We had 4 brands a day, and each brand got like an hour-and-a-half time slot. So we actually ended up seeing a lot, and if you want to know any of the ones that we saw and all the gratis I received from that, I have a really huge first Sephora gratis haul. I will link down below too. That was fun. So, I mean, I think we did that for like 2 weeks, I think. Brands came in. Yeah, it was like 2.5 weeks brands came in and just really in-depthly like trained us on their products, asked a lot of like questions, and just really we got to ask them a lot of questions as well to kind of get ourselves like ready to sell, not necessarily to sell their products, but to know what product is best for which client. So that was a lot of fun. It was actually really crazy. I kind of wish we could go back to those days, just because sitting down, be able to get food for free and not having to deal with people being crazy was a lot more fun than it is now. But yeah, so I mean, orientation I think is what typically a lot of people get, just because if you're hired into Sephora, I think you get like a 2-day orientation. And I mean, it's a lot of fun to learn about like the backstory of Sephora and things like that. And I know, I'm sorry, I'm like so blanking because this was so long ago for me. I'm like trying to remember what happened. But I just remember having a lot of fun in training, and I just remember it being a really like growing experience. The fact that we all as a new cast trained together kind of made us grow together, and we're kind of like a big family now. But it definitely got us to know like our store director and our store specialist and all of our leads a little bit better, and I feel definitely more close to them. Like I'm happy that this happened, because I feel as though if I were hired into a store that's already open, I wouldn't feel as close to my leadership. And I don't know, I like the feeling that I have. So that was kind of it for my orientation and new store opening stuff and brand training and things like that. The next video will be merchandising the store and grand opening. I'm really excited about talking about that because I can kind of remember that really, really well. So I hope this kind of helped you and kind of give you a little bit more insight into my Sephora experience. I'm sorry it's a little jumbled. I'm just like seriously trying to remember what happened. So I hope you guys enjoy. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.